Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today is 25th February 2020. Day is Tuesday. We have a very interesting article. It's called A US Strategy Only Meant to Isolate China. This article is basically saying that the only intention of USA is to isolate China, and this is one of the main reason why it is increasing its hold in Indo-Pacific region. So far what I have told you, one thing I'm sure you might have comprehended, that this article is negative about USA. Why it is negative about USA, we'll go through it in detail. But before that, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses, which are available for various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from StudyIQ.com. To download the PDF of today's lecture, you have two sources. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Since 2017, USA released a few reports and fact sheets on new Indo-Pacific strategy. In its new Indo-Pacific strategy, USA is talking about promoting free, fair, and reciprocal trade in this Indo-Pacific region. But the question is, what it means actually? Means USA has not clarified its core intention. And in this article, it is argued that the deeper agenda of USA is to use these three large Asian nations, Australia, India, and Japan, to isolate China. There is nothing else to it when it comes to Indo-Pacific strategy of USA. The only intention is to isolate China, and to do that thing, USA is using these three large and powerful countries. Now, so far what we have discussed, and this particular line, this deeper agenda of the USA, one thing you can guess about quad is this quadrilateral that I'm talking about. And you know that you have four members in this quad. You have USA, Japan, Australia, and India. So the future of quad, judging from this article, it looks like it's not going to be beneficial for Australia. It's not going to be that beneficial for Japan or India. It's all about USA's interest, isn't it? Now, if we talk about China's Belt and Road Initiative, you can see on your screen, this is a picture of Belt and Road Initiative. And as you can see here, this is one orange line and this one is a blue one. So blue one is, of course, this marine route, and the orange one is road and rail route. So, you know, what China is trying to do here, China is trying to connect Asia, Europe, and this Africa. And it's not limited to it. It is also trying to connect with South America as well. Now, the thing is, China is doing this thing to end China's reliance upon the markets of the West. Too much reliance, or if you have all your eggs in one basket, then your risks are not divided. So China wants to create new markets. So in case if things are not going well with USA and Western world, then its trade and its strength will not get that much affected. So this is point number one. Point number two is China wants to use its massive surpluses, deep pocket, the money. China is having huge amount of money. So if you have, let's say, 5 crore rupees, right, in your cupboard, and if you're just leaving it there, it's not going to get double. You have to invest it somewhere very wisely. And that's what China is doing. China is investing this money in infrastructure in different parts of the world, in African countries, in Asia, in Latin America. And by investing this money, China is also creating or winning minds and hearts of the people of these three different places. And, it's getting bigger and stronger. And this is something that USA is not happy about. Morgan Stanley estimates that by 2027, China will spend $1.3 trillion in this ambitious construction projects. Just in CPEC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, China has invested $68 billion. And recently, Saudi Arabia said that it will invest $10 billion in this Gwadar port. So, as you can see here, China is creating assets as well as infrastructures, and it is creating this assets, or these assets are in fact attracting various different investments too. From this CPEC we can judge this thing. Now USA is also saying, USA has been talking about that it has this intention, and USA has invested heavily in different parts of Indo-Pacific region. But the reality is that if you compare what USA has invested so far, and if you compare what China has done, USA is no match. USA has just a fraction of money has been spent by USA in this region. USA has also expressed its interest in providing Nepal with $500 million, and this is for infrastructure. But it is also said that this is mainly because in recent past Nepal has discovered a large amount of uranium in this Mustang. It's not Mustang, that Ford car. It's a region here. As you can see, this is Nepal basically, and this portion, this here is China. So this place is Mustang, and it's near this Nepal-China border where Nepal has discovered uranium. So this is one of the main motivation for USA to USA's interest to involve in itself in this Nepalese economy. There are libraries, or you can say there are documents, huge amount of documents are available out there, and it's basically about this, this US driven international monetary funds, structural adjustment programs, and third world debt crisis in 1980s was created by USA in different parts of the world. So it's not that USA is that clean if we judge it from this article. And as we have already talked about, and again you have to pay attention that what it actually wants is an Indo-Pacific with fewer Chinese ships and more US warships. So pay attention here on this ships and warships. Ships are for trade. So basically what USA wants is, USA wants to reduce this trade of China, and it wants to increase its defense or its dominance. And this is the main reason why Australia has went ahead with this RCEP, and Japan is not using the word strategy when it is referring to Indo-Pacific. So early on it was Indo-Pacific strategy, but now Japan is saying just Indo-Pacific or Indo-Pacific region without using the word strategy. So we should be a bit careful here, isn't it? So this one was all about negativity, and this one is about positives: guns, gas, and technology. As we all know that Mr. Trump is here, and yesterday was a very special day for USA and India. And I'm sure now you'd be thinking whether Mr. Trump or USA is good or bad for India. The thing is, dear friends, you have to understand this thing, that there is nothing good, nothing bad. It's all about time. It's all about interest of our country. At present, interest of our country as per the government is USA should be our good friend, and USA wants to be friend with India. So things are what we find at present. Both countries are hugging each other, you can say. In the past, things were not that right between, or there was a big distance, not in terms of location, but in terms of thinking between these two countries. So things were very negative, very bleak, and it was looking very bad as well. If you go back 20 years ago, things were not that good between these two countries. But now things are very positive between these two countries. So it all depends on time and interest, right? So you have to keep this thing in mind. And it's never going to be 100% perfect relationship when it comes to countries. You have few good things, you have few bad things. You have to increase goodies, and you have to increase your decrease your negative things and bad things, and this is how it works. And that's what these countries and other countries are doing. So US President Donald Trump's first official visit, it was a big thing yesterday in Ahmedabad, and this is not the first time that these two leaders are interacting with each other. It's, I think, their eighth meeting, and they have met in the sidelines of G7, G20, UNGA, etc. In last few years, the US has categorized India as a major defense partner and granted it a strategic trade authorization 1 status. You might have read about this words, LEMOA, LEMOA, as well as COMCASA. So I have two questions for you. What is the full form of LEMOA as well as COMCASA? And what do you understand? What is LEMOA and what is COMCASA? So it's not just the full form. What do you understand? What it is? You have to explain that as well. So it's going to be a little bit descriptive, answer writing practice for you today. So what I want you is, of course, if you don't know what LEMOA is and COMCASA is, then what you are going to do is you are going to Google it, isn't it? And that's what you should do. It's a right thing to do. So Google it, find its full form, and then write down its full form. Then what is LEMOA? What it means, then analyze it, read about it, have it will a little bit of research, let's say 5 minutes or 10 minutes research max, and you will know so many things about LEMOA. Once you know things about it, then I want you to understand it and then write your own answer. Don't copy paste it. That is very important. So that means if you copy paste the things, then you won't be able to remember it. But if you type it, right, or if you write it, then you are engaging yourself with it. So do that thing. Once understand what LEMOA is, what COMCASA is, and then explain what it is. And it should be very brief. I don't want bigger, longer explanation. Just brief with 2-3 lines would be more than enough. So 2018 total two-way trade flows increased to $142.3 billion, which is not bad. USA is fifth largest source of FDI, foreign direct investment, long-term investment. FDI is all about long-term investment, creating jobs here, creating new factories. So fifth largest source of FDI is USA. So far, $28 billion investment has been done. And USA's companies are present in various different sectors of our economy: defense, aviation, agriculture, health, education, insurance, etc. And it's not just one-way street. Indian companies have invested $18 billion in USA, and we have created 113,000 jobs in USA as well. Our companies have created. The goal of both nations is to hit a $500 billion two-way trade, and CII research indicates that we would be able to achieve this target as early as 2030. This 142.3 is going to go up because India is going to purchase more liquefied natural gas and crude oil from USA. So in terms of energy, we are going to buy more things from USA. In terms of defense, we have talked about it earlier on that today, hopefully by the end of the day, we'll find that USA and India might have will, in fact, of course, because this was officially declared as well, that a $3 billion defense deal will take place as well. So naturally, you can understand that this bilateral trade will go up because we are going to purchase more energy as well as defense products from USA. Indian companies have invested $4 billion in shale gas sector as well. And as far as defense is concerned, 2+2 dialogue took place between both these nations. Remember, our foreign minister as well as defense minister were on USA's visit. I think it was at the end of nearly somewhere in the last quarter of 2019. And we are engaging with each other. We are joining hands when it comes to high technology exports, robotics, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, space, etc. So things are quite, you can say, positive between these two countries. So it's quite interesting, isn't it, that we started our discussion with negative things about USA, and then we have a positive view as well. Both articles are beautiful. Both articles are quite informative. And as I told you already, this is the main reason I told you that you have goods and bads, but you have to keep a balance and increase your goods and decrease your bads. The issues around data localization, again a very interesting article. So this one is about Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. It was introduced in Parliament, and now it was then referred to this Joint Parliamentary Committee, which is currently engaged in a process of public consultation. Now, the draft law is a comprehensive piece of legislation that seeks to give individuals greater control. Very important thing, that this piece of legislation is quite comprehensive, and it seeks to give individuals greater control over how their personal data, your personal data, how it will be, how it will be collected and stored and used. Once passed, the law promises a huge improvement on current Indian privacy law, which is both inadequate and improperly enforced. Now, the PDP bill, however, is not without its flaws. A few weeks ago, Justice Shri Krishna was the head of this committee that provided recommendations regarding this personal data protection bill. So Justice Shri Krishna said that he's not happy with the changes that government has made or government is planning to make. Now, when these recommendations were given by Justice Shri Krishna, it was accepted. Most of the recommendations are accepted by the government. And now let me come to the point. Now, why Mr. or Justice Shri Krishna is not happy about this PDP bill, or what are the flaws in it? So it has attracted criticism on various grounds, such as exceptions created for the states, like state departments or government basically can collect your data. Government can access your data whenever it wants. It can use it for surveillance and other things. So this is something that is not acceptable. We can of course understand that if a person is a suspected terrorist, then of course government agencies like RAW and IB and other, they should be allowed to track that person and to see whether to see his or her WhatsApp and what he is writing and chatting and emails, tapping phone calls, all these things. It's acceptable. But just imagine if government is keeping an eye or recording your data, and government is you are just a normal person, but government is recording your data. So this is something that is not acceptable, and it is in violation to this Puthuswamy case as well, this right to privacy. One of the more contentious issue in the law bill are the provisions pertaining to data localization. It's going to increase the cost for the companies, like you have to store this data in India, so you have to create this infrastructure, first thing. Second thing is sensitive personal data. A copy will have to be kept in the country. When it comes to sensitive personal data, then as well you have to create this local data localization is required. And then you have this transferring critical data. It's not allowed. You cannot, a foreign company cannot take away this critical personal data. So you have to bifurcate things, and this will create more expense as well as more troubles for the companies. So it is argued that this will it will kill basically small companies flourishing, those companies who are those startups who are not that big, but they have this ability, they can grow, but this sort of laws will create problems for them. I was talking about this Justice Shri Krishna committee in 2018. As per the committee recommendations, both personal and sensitive personal data should be mirrored in the country, subject to different conditions. Now, let me add one more point here, that I'm not sure whether you are aware about this thing, but in USA, this Facebook, Google, all these companies, right? They store this data in USA, they have their servers over there. And there is a law in USA that if federal government of USA wants, then it can access this data anytime. Means, as per the law, these companies, they have to provide this data to USA. So basically, US government can access this data anytime it wants, and it is, I think, accessing as well. It is using this data. And we were talking about this 2017 Puthuswamy case about interference with privacy. Privacy is a fundamental right. So if government is allowed, or this government agencies can freely access our data, then this is something that is against this privacy fundamental right. Purpose of localization, sovereignty and government functions, that our rules and regulations will be applicable on the data of Indian people. Economic benefit, if there are any, or if we can generate economic benefit, then it should be for our local industry as well as our local companies. And privacy and security, that our rules will be applied. And there is also one problem with this privacy and security, is that domestic surveillance, as we have already talked about, this can become a big issue. So overall, the degree of protection afforded to data will depend on the effectiveness of the applicable data protection regime, and for that, government should, or this parliamentary committee that is going through it, they should reform surveillance related laws. Surveillance is important, but it should be applicable on only those whom we are confident that this person is doing something wrong, or terrorist and other people. Entering into more detailed and up-to-date mutual legal assistance treaties with other countries. If we have to share our data, if some data will go to other countries, then we have to have a proper mutual legal assistance treaties, enabling the development of sufficient digital infrastructure, creating appropriate data sharing policies that preserve privacy and other third-party rights, and enabling data to be used for socially useful purposes. If you can use data that you have for traffic management and for other things, for health, for example, or for economic development, then yes, it should be used. But of course, not our personal data. It should be more like you can understand what I mean. Like when I say traffic, right? If you know, like people are traveling at a certain time at a particular crossroad, then you can use the data so that you can manage traffic a bit more effectively, right? And then you have this thing as well, that if privacy protection is the real consideration, individuals ought to be able to choose to store their data in any location which afford them the strongest privacy protection. So people may say that, means I would say that my data should be stored under European Union because their law is the best. Someone will argue that their data should be stored in California because they think that California rules and regulations are the best. So this is also a question, it may arise in future. People may say that I don't want my data to be stored in India. I want it to be stored in EU or under EU umbrella or California, isn't it? Then let's talk about dual citizenship. So far we have discussed these 3 articles. Now we are going to focus on dual citizenship article. This one is about citizenship, of course. Now, Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, right? It is not talking about, or it is clear on dual citizenship, right? And at present we see this demand again. We have seen this. It has resurrected. Like people are asking for a dual citizenship for Tamil refugees from Sri Lanka. Now, constitution as well as legal position is clear. It's clearly against this grant of dual citizenship per se. As on date, no Indian citizen holds the citizenship of any other country. You either are Indian citizen or you are not, right? Simple as that. You can get this OCI, that is Citizenship Act in 2003. It was amended, and this OCI scheme was introduced. So you can get this OCI card, like origin, you are, your origin, your roots are Indian, but you are not a citizen. So you can get sort of limited dual citizenship. You can come here, you won't enjoy political rights, you cannot purchase agricultural land, but you are sort of, you have your Indian roots. So you can arrive in India, you can come here, you can stay here, and things like that. Now, the center has consistently favored voluntary repatriation of refugees of Sri Lanka. Back in 2016, Jayalalitha ji was ex or former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister during election time. She talked about this dual citizenship, and recently Governor Banwarilal Purohit too referred to demand in his assembly address last month about this dual citizenship. But as I told you, Constitution as well as the CAA or this law, right, legally as well, things are clear that India will not allow dual citizenship. So what we should do about this refugees, Tamil refugees from Sri Lanka? First thing that we have to understand that they are not illegal migrants. They entered India with the knowledge and approval of Indian authorities. So we have to provide them this facility. If we cannot find a solution, if Sri Lanka is not creating space for them to return, then at least we should provide them those rights through which they can earn then bread and butter. They can live a life of dignity in our country, right? Of course, if they are not allowed to vote, that's a different thing, but at least that they should find decent work here. The rights should be protected, particularly human rights. We should make sure that they are not harassed over here, they are not considered lovely over here. All these things we have to care, and we should engage with Sri Lanka. And we should make sure that Sri Lanka creates this space so that those people who want to return, they can return safely. Because it's been more than 10 years, the civil war is over. And from last 30 years, this Tamil refugees from Sri Lanka, they are suffering. They are not getting what they deserve. And the last one is the unassailable keywords for the judiciary. It's about the character of a judge. Now, Justice Arun Mishra recently praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a public gathering. It was International Judicial Conference 2020, Judiciary and the Changing World, and he praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, the problem is that when you are a judge and when you are a senior most judge, when you are praising a politician or a Prime Minister, it sends a signal that judiciary is tilted towards a ruling party, isn't it? And this is something I'm sure, Justice means, when I say I'm sure, I mean to say that I don't know him personally, but judging by the reputation of our Supreme Court, Arun Mishra is Supreme Court judge because of his capabilities, and we have trust. Our country has huge faith on our Supreme Court. And if we go back to the history, then as well, we find that it clearly says that be you ever so high, the law is above you. This is for judges. Like, you can be as high, you can fly as high as you can, but law will always be. And the more higher you fly, the higher you take law with you. So judges play a very important role in the reputation of our judiciary. And in the past as well, it was said that a judge should be a person who is having, a proper character. A judge will be fearless. He or she will not come under the pressure of economy. When I say economy, I mean to say if someone is trying to bribe them and, all these things. A judge should have all these things in him or her. And a judge also said that while the administration of justice draws its legal sections from constitution, its credibility rests in the faith of the people. The credibility of means powers of judiciary, they come from constitution, but credibility comes from from the faith of the people, and faith will increase, or people will have a faith on judiciary only when judges are behaving properly, isn't it? So in short, the behavior of the judge is the bastion for the people to reap the fruits of the democracy, liberty and justice, and the antithesis rocks the bottom of the rule of law. In second judge's appointment case as well, Supreme Court was very clear that a judge should be a legal expert ability. He or she should have this ability to handle cases. Proper personal conduct is most important, and ethical behavior, firmness and fearlessness are obviously essential for a person to become to enter this superior judiciary. And then you have this news items. You can download the PDF of today's lecture and of course go through all these news items. And that's everything in today's discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do share this lecture with other students and stick your answer in the comment section. God bless you all. Jai Hind.